the system to just bring the rains over the Carolinas. As a matter of fact, we can find heavy amounts anywhere from 2 to 3 inches possible, so we do have flood watches in effect for the area. North of the region, though, high pressure will kind of keep things under control. In northern New England, Boston, you'll find more sun and clouds today, but the clouds, I think, will be the order of the day in New York, Philly, and even some scattered rain showers as far north as the nation's capital. More thunderstorm activity expected in the nation's midsection. The very same upper-level low-pressure system we were dealing with yesterday will cause more scattered showers and thunderstorms today. And here's the vigorous frontal boundary that has already plowed through much of the Intermountain West. A lot of cold air associated with it. We'll find snow again today in the mountains of Montana and Idaho, and even the Wasatch Front of Utah. Salt Lake City, we wake up to temperatures in the low 40s this morning. So the threat of strong to severe storms over the northern plains as that system plunges into the warm and moist atmosphere later today. And you can see the scattered showers and thunderstorm outlook for much of the Mississippi Valley. Okay, national radar shows where we have most of the moisture this morning, and it's basically associated with that tropical low-pressure system over the Carolinas, and we've had some thunderstorms developing right here in the plains just south of Oklahoma City, some big-time thunderstorms with hail and high winds, and you can see the rain and snow in the Pacific Northwest. Let's check on your forecast now. The next 5 days, where are these systems going? Here's the midday hour. Of course, we'll continue to watch this low-pressure system as it slides northward. Again, the threat of some rain showers in our nation's capital. Scattered showers, they'll be widely scattered, I think, over the upper Mississippi Valley. So Chicago, maybe, and scatter thunderstorm here and there, and even Minneapolis and Milwaukee. But very windy for much of the west. Again, the snow in the mountains, rain in the lower elevations, even the offshore very windy conditions in Southern California today, even around Phoenix, where you get up to about 100 degrees. Much colder air over the northern Rockies with highs only in the 40s and 50s. 80s will surge all the way to Chicago and Detroit today. Clouds and rain will keep temperatures in the 70s over the mid-Atlantic. But Atlanta, you'll find partly cloudy conditions today. Southern Georgia, northern Florida with morning lows like this. Okay, let's see how this cool pool of air will move as we go through the next couple of days. You see the highs in the 40s and 50s over the northern Rockies and the northern plains on Thursday. And then Friday, we start to modify and temperatures back to more seasonal levels by the weekend as 60s build over this area, but still very hot over much of the south. Even gets hotter, I think, toward the weekend over the southeast with broad 90s from Texas all the way to North and South Carolina. Scattered showers and thunderstorms today and even tomorrow as that system continues to lift north and east out in the Atlantic. But all eyes are focused on this major storm system out west as it moves. Good morning, I'm Vivian Brown.
And I'm Mark Biancuso, and Allison has continued to move northeastward overnight, spreading its winds and rains from Georgia through the Carolinas, and we continue to keep an eye on it as it gets close to Charleston early this morning. Some of the scenes from yesterday showing you the wind-whipped rains and tides across Florida. Tidal flooding around Tampa as the winds came in out of the southwest. We'll see the heavy rains and the potential for tidal flooding. Well, stay with us next on the Weather Scope.
Scope of coverage you won't find anywhere else. This is Weather Scope This Morning.
Well, what a difference a day makes. It is much, much more quiet over the panhandle of Florida this morning than the same time yesterday morning as Allison was getting closer and closer to the panhandle. Now, once it made landfall, we had, unfortunately, several tornadoes that were spun around the Jacksonville area. We had reports of damage to some of the property and structures there. The twister damaged homes and a roof of an elementary school near the border at St. Mary's. That's in extreme southeast Georgia. We had heavy rains at the Allegheny Point area in the panhandle of Florida. Rains and high winds were certainly associated with the hurricane as it came on shore. We are so happy to say this morning that Allison is not packing nearly quite as big of a punch as we were dealing with yesterday morning over the panhandle of Florida, but we do still have some windy conditions and the rainy weather over the Carolinas. Still in northern Georgia, some rain showers are left over as it centers itself right along the coast here of Georgia and South Carolina. As Mark mentioned, it will continue to move off to the northeast and eventually work its way out into the Atlantic. But we'll have to watch for perhaps some localized heavy rains over the Carolinas throughout the day today, as flood watches have been issued for the coastal areas. We still have some scattered showers in extreme southern Florida, but at least the panhandle of the northern peninsula is very quiet so far this morning. You can see the scattered showers mainly south of Lake Okeechobee as it crosses over the region. Just some scattered showers, and perhaps throughout the day the extreme southern peninsula will have to watch for scattered shower activity, but north of the area it's going to be a much better day with partly cloudy conditions from Tampa to Orlando around Disney World up to Jacksonville, again where we had the tornadoes yesterday. Tallahassee looking much better as well. Let's take you a little farther north at the radar scan, which shows the rain shower still spiraling near Columbia and South Carolina. Charleston, South Carolina, over the last 24 hours picked up over 2 inches of rain. More rains to add to the tallies today. And you can see up to Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina, we have scattered showers back to Asheville, North Carolina, and around Athens, Georgia, mainly east of the Atlanta area. As far north as the rain goes this morning, Norfolk, Virginia. But we do think the showers will continue to spill to the north and reach Richmond and even our nation's capital later on. Clouds will filter into Philadelphia and New York, so anticipate mostly cloudy conditions, but I think you'll find more sun than clouds if you're in Boston or around Providence, Rhode Island, as high pressure across the extreme north tries to hang on in and bring you the southeast wind, so temperatures will be in the low 80s if you're in Boston. We still have some scattered showers across much of the Midwest, central and southern Minnesota, back into Missouri and eastern Kansas. Had some powerful thunderstorms move just south of the Oklahoma City area, and you can see the dew points are still fairly high, so have a lot of moisture still in the atmosphere. So this area is still targeted today for scattered showers and thunderstorm activity, and a very powerful cold front coming out of the Pacific Northwest. Perhaps some severe weather of the northern plains later today. Mark has more details on that system.
All right, thanks a lot, Vivian. And yes, the thunderstorms continue to rumble about in Oklahoma, and I know a lot of you there just get close there in Oklahoma, will they? But after this morning's action, we should see a little bit of a lull, and then there'll be a lull until this powerhouse front and storm in the west makes its move later on in the week. For now, though, we're watching closely 2 areas in Oklahoma City. Warm, muggy air is flowing up through the Plains states, but in the west, just the exact opposite, turning sharply colder, howling winds. Look at these temperatures. These are the actual temperatures, only in the 30s and 40s here. Temperature downpours from Richmond. Storm. Here's a report from Dennis Smith.
Even though Allison was listed as a minimal hurricane, the winds felt along the Florida Panhandle did not appear to be the main problem. As always, the concern for coastal residents is flooding. Such was the case in Alligator Point, Florida. Although buffeted from Hurricane Allison's wind, the storm surge contributed to most of the damage. The main road leading into Alligator Point was damaged from water undermining the highway. But within hours after the hurricane passed, road crews were already beginning repairs. To the north in St. Marks, Florida, flooding was the main cause for concern.
Yeah, flooding here was the only problem. We never lost power, had any power lines or trees down, anything like we normally have in tropical systems.
While this small community received the most damage from floodwaters, the impact was not that great. So even though the first named storm of the 1995 tropical season grew to hurricane strength, its impact was minimal. Dennis Smith, the Weather Channel.
And here's a look at Allison's history, and you can see it developed down here in the Caribbean, moved its way right up through the Yucatan Channel, through the Gulf, and now we find it this morning sitting over South Carolina, and it should continue to move its way northeastward. Let's show you the satellite picture for you right now, and as we roll that, you can see the swirl here. There it is, just off to the west of Charleston. This storm will be passing right up towards Virginia Beach by midnight tonight. No, this is not pulling out to sea. This will be moving right up the coastal plain here, and then moving to the east of New England. So looks like rainy, windy weather spreading up from the Carolinas to eastern Virginia, then up to southeast Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and eventually into New England. As we show you the map, here is our lowest pressure. It's north of Savannah and it's off to the west of Charleston. Greatest pressure falls right up through the sand hills and coastal plain of North Carolina. So we're pretty confident that this will continue to move right up towards Virginia Beach during the nighttime hours. Here's a look at the radar, and you can easily see the circulation here. See the little precipitation elements rolling around. Rain pulling away from Atlanta, but the rain's coming right on up here into Wilmington, up right up the Cape Fear River there, and up towards Raleigh and Durham. And look at all that rain over there passing up through the tidewater around Norfolk. Flood watches, they have been issued from South Carolina into North Carolina. Still the potential for 2 to 4 inch downpours, rain showers, gusty winds, and still the potential for a strong thunderstorm or two over here right along the coast later on today. Aside from that, not too much going on out here in the tropical Atlantic, so we take it to the tropical Pacific. Things pretty quiet over here too. We do see some flare-ups way down here off the coast of Central America and out to the Central Pacific, but nothing too much to be concerned about. And lastly, hey, we take you over to the Far East. There's China. Here are the Philippines. We do have a tropical system here. It's moving its way up to the north. Let's move ourselves into the forecast, and as we check that out for you, there goes Allison, what's left of it, headed right up through the coastal plain of South and North Carolina, and up to the west, a huge change. A powerful cold front, falling temperatures, and gusty winds in the west. In the east, high clouds increasing today. Providence, Hartford, and over towards Scranton in Pennsylvania. Rain showers, thunderstorms coming up from the south. Heaviest rain, southeast Virginia into the Carolinas. In the south, weather will be improving. Still a little bit breezy here from South Georgia into Florida. Afternoon showers and thunder showers will be with us again, South Florida. And moving out of Oklahoma, those big thunderstorms, and they'll be scattered about in Arkansas and West Tennessee, where it should be a pretty hot breeze.
The following program is part of Cable in the Classroom, a service of the cable television industry and your local cable company.
And a good day. You're watching the Weather Classroom. Bill Keneally here today alongside Mike Barno, and today's topic deals with careers in meteorology. We'll run the gamut all the way from television careers or radio forecasting all the way through aviation forecasting, as well as some of the academia. We'll also take you to a National Weather Service office, show you some of the state-of-the-art equipment.
Coast, but stronger.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We certainly have a busy weather day out there. At least at this point we see Allison going down the tubes, weakening as it's heading to the north. But we do have more severe weather in the plains and several watch areas actually to show you. And we also have the potential for snow out there here on June 6th. Let's start with Allison. Here's your history. Started out, of course, in the Caribbean. Typical place to see tropical development this time of year. Made its way quickly out into the Gulf and then inland yesterday as a very minimal hurricane, and didn't cause a whole lot of damage. Usually the biggest threat with a minimal hurricane is going to be the rain and severe weather. Now, we did get some of that. We did see some heavy rain, and we think there's the potential for more of that today as the system is winding its way through the Carolinas. Getting some pretty heavy downpours through North Carolina, and flash flood watches are in effect at this time. Meanwhile, back in Georgia and Florida, where folks might have been a little bit nervous about the threat of heavy rain because of Alberto last year, it's already beautiful weather out there, and actually most of the rain that came down was soaked up very easily because it had been pretty dry through Georgia and parts of Florida, so we got some needed rain. Storm system moved out, and while we had some problems, again, I think they're pretty minor for first tropical system of the year. So that's one problem on the map. Again, we have some rain out through here and some mountain snow in the west. Let's go ahead and take a look at the satellite picture, and we'll show you what's going on here. So you put this into motion, you can see the thunderstorm clouds beginning to develop here around the Memphis area, and also around Chicago we had thunderstorms come through, even a couple possible tornadoes up in Wisconsin. We will show you a couple of radars here. First, South Florida around Miami. Some thunder showers, Boca Raton to Fort Lauderdale. Looks like things are really beginning to calm down a little bit. This is actually kind of tail end of the moisture with Allison. Big stripe of it kind of swinging up and around. Most of Florida dry, but we haven't quite cleared things out here in the south, so hopefully tomorrow will be a little bit better for you. No reports of severe weather that I've seen through this area. A little farther to the north, you can see the spin here. The center of circulation has been along the North Carolina coastline and moving northeast. Now, the Gulf Stream waters are fairly warm, so there could be some concern that this would move out over the Gulf Stream waters and redevelop. But at this point, it looks like even if it were to move out over warmer waters and strengthen a little bit, it would still head out to sea. It may come far enough north and kind of brush you with at least some rain. Philly, New York, and Boston, we think tomorrow's probably going to be a pretty wet day for you as this one swings out, and then goodbye to Allison. In the meantime, we focus our attention a little farther west, and you can see these thunderstorms. We've had a number of reports of hail, actually, with these thunderstorms right along the Mississippi River, crossing now into western Tennessee and around Paducah, Kentucky. Heavy rain and hail, probably the biggest threats with these. Of course, always lightning can be a threat with thunderstorms. Around Chicago, notice this. Big band of thunder showers came through, headed to the north. Now Racine and Walworth counties, in Wisconsin, there are tornado warnings in effect. These are your watches right at the moment from Nashville back through Little Rock, potential for severe thunderstorms, and around the Minneapolis area as well. Actually, northern suburbs, northwestern suburbs around Minneapolis, we've had some reports of hail as well. So here's your latest radar, and you can see the strong thunderstorms now away from the Chicago area, and we moved right through, in and out. Before you know it, rain has ended for the time being. Strongest thunderstorms are north on 94 and also northwest of Madison, and generally heading to the north. Not real quick movers, maybe 25, 30 miles per hour. So, Allison, severe thunderstorms here. We keep going. We have another front here. Behind it, very cold air that could bring us some snow, believe it or not. We're looking at snow maybe around Big Sky, Yellowstone National Park. You're probably going to see some snow. If you're not getting it right now, then overnight tonight, and even down into Utah, we could be talking measurable snow here first week of June. As a matter of fact, take a look at this, what we're expecting out of this system. As we see summer shoved aside. Actually, summer doesn't start for, another week and a half, but definitely feels like summer in the east, and it does not at all here with a strong upper-level low coming in. Take Salt Lake City, for example. Yesterday evening at 6 o'clock, it was 84 degrees with a south wind. The front came through, dropped it down to 57 degrees. Pretty quick drop. And so looks like we're going to stay kind of chilly in Salt Lake. As a matter of fact, as I mentioned, Yellowstone, 31 degrees of snow this morning, and winter storm warnings are out for the mountains and the foothills, and temperatures will be running anywhere from 5 to 30 degrees below normal for Wednesday. Thursday, slow improvement, and then it should be getting better. So let's take a look at our forecast. Wednesday morning, rain showers, International Falls, back towards Fargo. That snow continuing. Here's, again, remnants of Allison, skimming the Cape and then moving out to sea. Could be a little rainy, maybe a little breezy with it, but that's probably the worst of it. And then snow continuing through the day. Temperatures, of course, will be well below normal through there. Precipitation amounts expected, still pretty heavy with what's left of Allison. That's why flash flood watches are in effect here in North Carolina. We do have also a severe thunderstorm watch for eastern Montana, and the rain could be fairly heavy here. We're looking at possibly over an inch. There's your snowfall forecast. We haven't seen one like this in quite some time. Where you see the white on here at 6 to 12 inches. We thought we were finished with this, but apparently not. So hopefully this will be the last hurrah of winter, teens and 20s tomorrow morning.